Hello there. This is a Barlow knife. It's a Sabre brand. Now these knives were distributed by a company called Cole National. And they were made in various different countries. Even some that were made in the United States. This happens to be made in Japan model. I'm not certain when these knives, the period in which these knives began production, and I'm not sure when they stopped. I do know that as a boy, back in the 70s, these were around when I was a boy. These were considered basically almost a throwaway knife. They were the kind of knife that you could stick in a toolbox or something like that and not worry about if it got damaged. They were the kind of knife that you might give to a young boy as a first knife. And I can be honest with you and say that if I had gotten a knife like this when I was a boy, I would have been over the moon. They were considered a knock-around brand, but they were mostly built to a decent quality, and they had decent steel in them. And if I remember right, when I was a boy, the Japanese-made ones were more respected or coveted than the others. There were some of these that were made in the U.S., which were even more sought after, if you could call a knife like this sought after at all. But they were, I'll put it another way, they were more respected. But I mean, you can look at this knife and see, I mean, we're not worrying about whether these rivets are flush or anything like that. There's some gapping going on. So this knife was not made to a super high standard, but it was made as a solid knife, and it was a good work knife. This kind of knife was something a farmer or some kind of someone who did a lot of labor and stuff, a lot of dirty work and difficult work and work where things might be damaged and stuff like that. People like that might carry these in their pockets as well. This knife is a model, I don't know if you'll probably not be able to see it, but maybe down here at the bottom. This is a made in Japan Sabre model 603. It's a Barlow. It has a clip point main blade. I have put a bit of oil and in the pin blade here. Let me close that up just to kind of be safe. In the pin blade here, I put a bit of Slip 2000 in the joint. A lot of people would say don't grease your knife, and I would concur, use as little as you have to have. But the thing of it is, what happened with this knife is that the main blade, the main clip point blade, is very smooth in opening. It's got good torque, and this is a nice smooth moving blade. There's a half stop in that, and with the main blade, the full length of this blade is 5 3/4 of an inch. The main blade is just under 2.5 inches in length. Closed The knife is right around 3¼ inches in length. There are no discernible gaps in the springs or anything of the sort. It has a Delrin set of scales, brass pins, and a nickel-plated bolster with the requisite Barlow on it. The pen blade, like I said, it was more difficult to open, but more than that, it was not as smooth as the main blade was to open. This is very, very smooth. The pen blade has some grit in it. It's not as bad as it once was since I put that Slip 2000 in it, but there's a bit of grit. Now that may be because there's dirt in it, or that may be just that the company decided that the main blade was the most important and they didn't work on the pen blade as much to smooth everything out when they put it in. But either way, it's a decent quality knife made in Japan. If you won't be able to see, but someone somewhere along the line, by the way, the blades are steel or stainless, somebody somewhere along the line cleaned this up roughly, and then you can see they tried to sharpen it with a very, very coarse stone. They're just a really cool knife, and I love a little Barlow. They have been kind of the quintessential kind of pocket knife that you would carry as a work knife, a knock-around knife, a fishing box knife, you know, or a young boy's knife, or whatever. And there's a lot of history to them because of it. And you can buy some really, really well-made Barlows, but the Barlow was meant to be, in my opinion, all of them that I grew up with, and the thoughts on them, you know, from people that I knew, you know, they were considered to be just a basic, decent knife, nothing that was expensive or very finely made, just a good all-around solid work knife. And this one is, and I'm proud to have this in my collection. It's a user. All my knives are users. I don't collect expensive knives, and I don't collect knives that I'm not going to use. So, and this will be carried around in the pocket, and I'll enjoy using this knife. Thank you. That's the Sabre Barlow 603, made in Japan. Appreciate you watching. Bless you, and I'll talk to you later.